You got what I want, got what I want. You give me just one look and you know I'm good to go. You know I'm good to go.
Hello, thank you for joining Minds of Commercial Real Estate. Today we have Alex with Francie.
Thanks for having me, Cam.
And why don't you tell us a little bit of background about yourself?
I'm originally from Red Wing, Minnesota, small town in the Midwest, and now currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ended up down here for school. I went to Wake Forest University, and that's where my entrepreneurial journey began. I've basically been an entrepreneur, most of my adult life, starting with a laundry and dry cleaning business that I did in college. I ran it, I grew it, I sold it, and learned more doing that than any college class I took at Wake. I did end up working for Ernst& Young for about a year and a half. My parents really wanted me to go get my big boy job at a brand name, company. And I did it for a year and a half. And I loved the people I worked with, but I hated the work and what I, what I was doing at Ernst& Young, and thought I loved the laundry thing I was doing. And not necessarily because I love laundry, but just the like fast pace and the learning that happens as quickly as it does. And saw all these Uber for X businesses starting to pop up, like Instacart and Shipt and Wag and Rover. And I thought, this whole convenience economy thing is going to keep happening. And someone's going to do it for laundry and dry cleaning. And if it's not me, I'm going to hate myself and regret not ever going after it. And so I quit my job at EY and then started another laundry company called 2U Laundry in January of 2016. And over the course of the following 8 years, we raised about 33 million in venture capital. We launched a few dozen cities and then started vertically integrating and building physical laundromats in 2018. Mostly to make sure that the quality was way better and that margin was better for the pickup and delivery business. But that ended up doing well in lower income communities, underserved communities as a walk-in laundromat experience. And so we started franchising that business in 2021 under a subsidiary called LaundroLab. And in our first 18 months, sold 116 locations. We've got 30 laundromats open today. And that's where the idea for Francie originated. Was as a franchisor, I saw how brands sell their licenses, their franchise licenses, to prospective franchisees. I saw how misaligned the process was for the prospective franchisee if they were to work with a franchise broker. There wasn't a lot of good data out there or good tools to help you navigate the process. And so I thought, let's go build it. And so I hired a CEO at 2U Laundry and LaundroLab last year, moved to a board position there, and have been heads down working on Francie since last fall. And we're on our way and off to the races there.
Well, congrats on all the success and on the new adventure.
Thank you. It's been a fun journey. I mean, definitely lots of ups and downs, but it's been one of the most fulfilling things I think that I've ever experienced. And love entrepreneurship. I love the business that you've built and are building, and I love talking to the entrepreneur that owns. I just talked to one that owns the Kid Strong franchise, which is an early childhood development franchise, and it's just getting seeing people and their passions and how fulfilled they are running and owning a business is. I don't think of many things excite me more than hearing those stories and seeing people get challenged by business ownership.
Let's say, for example, a client comes to you today and says, I'm looking for a restaurant franchise, and they give you a certain budget.
Yep.
What would be the process, let's say, from A to Z?
Yeah. So with Francie, you come to the site, and at first, maybe you just want to explore and see what's out there. And so like Zillow, you can start to say, hey, I'm in Charlotte or I'm in Denver. I've got 200K to invest. What's available? And that's all they know at that point. You can kind of free form search if you want. What I advise people to do, and a tool that we've built, it's this AI powered Francie Fit Score. And it's initially a 12-question survey that asks things about, hey, Cam, what's your financial readiness and picture? What's your risk tolerance? What are your goals and objectives? And then what's your operational experience? And so we take those 4 categories and we start to understand, who is Cam as a person? What is he hoping to achieve from this? What are his kind of parameters and again, risk tolerance? And then we use AI to help curate a list from the 3,000 plus brands that exist in the United States at any given time, which is a lot for anyone to know, truly know and go through. And so we use the AI to help kind of curate the list and start to learn, what is it that Cam is most passionate about or most interested in or aligns the most with. And then we have franchise coaches step in and help you. So there's still human involvement, people that have franchise experience, that are franchisees themselves, they'll start to say, "Hey, Cam, of these 10, which, 3 do you like? Why do you not like the 7 you said no to?" We feed that back into our kind of matching function, and we just start to curate and help you along that journey. Once you've identified the brands, we introduce you to the brands, and you start to have conversations with them about what it would like, what it would be like to partner with them to become a franchisee of their system and of their business. We help you with lending at that point, so we partner with a number of lenders to help you get the best rates and the right structure. And there's all sorts of ways to finance a franchise, and so we help you navigate that process. And then really are just in your corner every step of the way there through negotiating with the brand, through educating on each of the steps that you're going to go through with the brand, as you're making that decision to see if it's something you want to do or not. And something we tell all the clients that we work with is, picking the right business is, I think, the second most important decision in life behind, picking your spouse. You got to make sure it's the right fit because you're going to work with this group the next 10 years, and you better be, damn sure it's the right team and right brand. And so we help, think through that and both the financial side of it and the objective side of us, but also the emotional part. Is this something that in 5 years you're going to see yourself continuing to want to do? Is this something you want to get your kids or your family involved in as well? Really thinking through that more emotional piece as well.
Got it. And what is the cost run?
Yeah, so to use our services, it's completely free. So, and I'm not even gonna try to lie or sugarcoat it. It's because the individual is the product, right? Like us working with the individual at the end of the day and helping them find the right business and us doing a good job at that is how we get paid because the brand pays us, a success fee if we bring a lead that is, the right fit, is qualified, et cetera. And so the brand is the one ultimately paying us. And the thing that we've done to structure our business to differ from, I think, a stereotypical or traditional franchise broker is that, traditional franchise broker will take a 60% commission on the franchise fee, which is huge. I mean, it's 60% out the door immediately. And if you think about it, some franchisors will charge a $60,000 franchise fee. Some will charge a $30,000 franchise fee. That broker, if they're making 60%, you can't say they don't have an incentive to push you to the one that has a $60,000 franchise fee versus the 30 because they make twice as much money. We've eliminated that entirely with our platform and with Franzi to say each brand pays us the same flat dollar amount, regardless of whether it's the 60K one or the 30K one, so that we remove any of that inherent bias. And we're upfront with our clients about that on day one. Yeah, I think we're the first group that's truly a franchise fiduciary where here's how we make money. Here's, how much it is. Here's how the product works. Like everything's out in the open on the table because that's how it should be. Just again, given how important this decision is, there needs to be a deep sense of, and level of trust. And I think the only way that can actually exist is if we're being paid in a way that doesn't put that at jeopardy, that trust and that relationship in jeopardy. And so we out of the gate designed the business to reflect that and make sure that there isn't any room for, misalignment or um, persuasion or pushy sales tactics. It's really all about, is this right for Cam? And if it's not, that's fine. We at least got to know you and maybe you have a friend or a colleague in the future that you send our way because we did the right thing and did a good job.
Let's talk about a little bit on the lending side, because I participate on that on the lending side. Obviously, in today's environment, it's mainly SBA. So, what are you seeing on the lending side when they're interested in a franchise and they go to get a loan?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends if it's a retail franchise or home services franchise where you have different assets. It depends if you're buying the building, as part of the franchise as well. So there's an SBA 7A, there's SBA 504 loans. The rates are higher than they were 4 or 5 years ago. But I think everyone's having to adjust to that. Every franchise concept is being impacted by that, and a lot of it is being passed on to the consumer, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you're asking. And so you have the traditional SBA options that are ranging anywhere, some of the variable options 6 to 10%, some of the variable options 6 to 10%, some other fixed rate options even higher, 10.5 to 15% I've seen for some SBA loans. But then there's what's called a Rob's rollover that a lot of people don't know about, but it's the ability to borrow and use retirement assets to buy a franchise business with no penalty or no tax implications. And a lot of people don't realize this is an option because I think it's just not well known. But the government I think the lens is that, hey, if we allow you to invest in corporations for retirement, why wouldn't we allow you to invest in yourself without, the tax implication or penalty as well? Why, this is America. There's the American dream. Why wouldn't we let you do that? And so the Rob's rollover is a program that allows you to do exactly that. You can access your retirement funds without penalty as long as you're investing in a business that you're going to operate. So Rob's is an interesting program. And I see a lot of people do, a traditional SBA loan and then use a ROBS to cover their equity component. So there are actually no cash out of pocket, to get into the business out of the gate. So SBA, ROBS rollover, conventional loans. We're starting to see a lot more private lending as well, get into franchising depending on the brand and depending on the operator. We're starting to work through that ourselves as a platform on how do we get more private capital to back operators, because a good use case is that think about the individual that works for the guy that owns 15 McDonald's or 10 McDonald's. He's the GM, he's the COO, he's running all 10 locations. He's a great operator, but he's probably making, a couple $100,000 a year as that GM or as that operator. He doesn't own any equity. And now he's saying to himself, hey, I want to go own the next restaurant I do. I want to, I don't have enough cash saved up to invest a couple $1,000,000. So what we're working on now is an ability to pair private capital with that, to back that operator. That operator now has sweat equity, though, owns 20 to 40% of the business. The private lenders come in and they own the rest, but they back the operator, and allow that person to earn more equity along the way is a model that we're looking at in the part of the platform that we're looking to build out.
Sure. On the Rob's rollover, so if they take it out of their retirement, how does that work? It's a one time, there's no 10% fee, and how does that exactly work?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no fee, there's no penalty. They basically tap into it as like a line of credit, as long as they can prove that it's going towards the build, either the acquisition of a business or the build out of their own business.
And then do they have to repay it back or no?
You don't have to pay anything back because it's not technically a loan. You're basically just accessing retirement funds early without penalty.
And you could do this, like, let's say for a second location, third location as well? Or is it just for first location?
There's no maximum limit. No IRS imposed cap on the amount that you can roll over into a ROBS arrangement. You can use any portion or even all of your eligible retirement funds to finance your business.
So someone's been an employee 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden their business mind kicks in. They can, if some people have, say, 100,000, some people might have 2 million in their retirement account. They could take advantage of it being under the age of 62 and not pay the 10% interest. That's great.
To your point, some people have hundreds of thousands squirreled away, and they might be thinking, hey, I want to bet on myself now and, go grow my retirement asset beyond the 11 to 12% that it's invested in the market right now by being invested in, a tangible business.
So why would somebody come and use, number one, how are you getting your clients right now? Is it all through referral, through online? How are you managing the marketing?
Yeah, so our go-to-market consists of kind of three main channels. Part of it's SEO and, Franzi. Think of Zillow. When you type an address in, the Zillow listing shows up, and we're getting very close to Franzi being the same for if you type just about any franchise brand or keyword. If you type best coffee franchise right now, for example, Franzi comes up on the first page of Google in the very first spot for all coffee franchises. So you can do research and start to explore the data that's out there, and what each brand does, and how many locations they have, and what the franchise fee is, and what it's going to cost you to get into owning one of those coffee franchises. And we've been shocked by how fast that's happened because we're still a relatively new business and platform. But because of how data rich the platform is, Google is ranking it very high. And so SEO, I think, is going to be a big competitive advantage of ours, showing up high and being relevant when people are starting to explore the idea of owning a franchise, regardless of the brand or the industry they're looking at. So SEO is a big bucket. Paid digital ads, Meta, Instagram, and LinkedIn ads we're starting to experiment with, and then content. And honestly, having conversations like this, we actually started our own podcast we've been recording episodes on in the last few weeks, called How I Franchised This. And it's stories of individuals that I left my banking job to go own 3 Kid Strong franchises, or I left my I was a GM at an operation business, and I now own 2 milkshake factories. And so we're telling stories like that to show, hey, this is possible. People are doing it. People like you and me are doing this every day. And so content's a big, strategy of ours too, both being, guests on other people's podcasts, doing PR and, being on broadcast TV, but also producing some of our own content internally. So it's been, as you know, like any business, there's the 3 or 4, channels that we're experimenting with and deploying to get leads and to get clients that we can work with to help on this journey.
Who's your competition? Direct competition?
Yeah, so I think our direct competitors, there's a 2 or 3 part answer. One is the traditional franchise broker, that is out there. This is another crazy thing that people don't realize. You and I can become a franchise broker in this moment, right now. Boom. Cam, you're a franchise broker. I'm a franchise broker now. There's no license requirements. So unlike real estate, where you have to take courses and get certified and be recognized by the state, for franchise brokerage, and you could be selling a business that's more than most people's houses, no licensure, no requirements. So that broker group is one competitor of ours. The other competitor is what's called a franchise portal. They have a directory of, a lot of the brands that are out there, but it's, a kind of a clunky user experience and interface. And they just sell your contact information to as many brands that will pay them for it. Yeah, so if you've got a pulse and an email, they'll sell it. They'll sell it to the brands. Our thought is we wanted to take the best of the portal, the best of the broker, and combine them into one, package it up with some, really easy, intuitive, user experience and some AI to make it, more accurate, more efficient, and less biased, and then have that human element that, helps kind of do the nuanced portions with you and the more emotional parts with you. And then also throw in services like financing and getting your entity formed and finding the right franchise CPA. So bundling it all into one. So short answer is there's not any immediate direct competitor to what we're doing, but there are a lot of similar or adjacent, providers like a broker group or another broker platform or a franchise portal.
Got it. If you have a client today that comes to you, let's go through 2 different scenarios, right? Not much experience, never worked, but say, I want to open a franchise. And they go through your portal, they come up with one franchise. Are there any recommendations you give, or like once a human is involved?
Yeah, so once they answer, and the thing about our Franzi Fit Score is you need to only answer 12 to start getting, fairly accurate recommendations. We're not going to be hit the nail on the head right away with only 12 pieces of information about, Cam as an individual, but it gets you started, gets you thinking, okay, I saw these 3, I like these, I don't like these. And as you're liking and not liking things, we're also learning more about what's resonating with you. The other part is if you want, you can answer another 70 questions. And it doesn't take long. These aren't like write a paragraph about yourself. This is, how many years have you managed hourly employees? So it's quick, like, 0 years, 3 years. What types of industries are you interested in? They're all very easily clickable, quick questions. But the more you answer, the more information we're getting that allows the recommendation engine to be more accurate. But yeah, even without talking to a human, you can get recommendations from the platform from the 3,000 plus brands that are out there today and constantly growing and being, added to. Once you talk to a person on our team, though, that's where, I think some of that nuance and finesse comes in, right? Where you have someone that knows this journey, that has a lot more context than I think the AI can have, and really starts to understand you as a person. We've tried to combine and marry both of those worlds together when you're ready for it and when you want it. Some people are just doing research and they don't want to talk to a human. That's fine. Some people are like, let me talk to a person immediately because I'm terrified, but I know I want to do this, and that's an option as well.
Is there anything you would like the viewers to know about Franzi and about just, the whole process?
Yeah, I would say if you've ever thought of business ownership, whether it's a franchise or not, maybe it's, short-term rental, maybe it's commercial real estate, maybe it's a independent car wash business or a restaurant. I'd say give us check us out and just, use the tool. Because at the very least, if you are looking for an independent, non-franchise business, it'll at least still help you hone in on the types of businesses to look for. Let's say you don't want to do franchise, but Franzi's recommending car washes to you 6 times over because of your answers. At least it's a free tool that you got to use to hone in on that. Hey, based on what I said about being more passive and less employees, fine with heavy equipment, answering these types of questions that's helped you hone in on franchising, at least you'll get to use it for that. And then if you are just curious and want to learn more about franchising, we're also there to be a resource. So my one ask would be, we're learning right now a lot, and I'd love for feedback and people to check out the site and play around and use the tools and give us that feedback as they have it.
Great. Well, Alex, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for all the information, and hopefully we'll do another podcast soon.
Yeah, Cam, thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it, and would love to come back in the future.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share any questions or comments in the comments below, and follow us on social media. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Let's get together.